Ever since I was a kid, I have always loved the SCP Foundation. I mean, the idea of this extensive lore that anybody could add on to really was so fascinating to me. On top of that, the base function of the Foundation, being this anomaly wrangling company, has to be like top 10 coolest ideas ever. It always reminded me of that movie R.I.P.D. starring Ryan Reynolds. Real ball knowledge right there. Every SCP is considered an anomaly, and they all have what's called an object class. Now, object classes determine how difficult an anomalous object, entity, or phenomena is to contain. Now, there is like 15 total classes or something dumb, but there are what's considered primary classes, which are the four most common, that being Safe, Euclid, Keter, and Thaumiel. Now, I have very carefully chosen three of some of my favorite SCPs that I think are underrated. Now, that's not to say that they aren't popular, I just think that they don't get the love that they deserve. Now, I am going to assume that you all at least know what SCP is at a base level. It is one of the most popular online horror franchises, I guess, of all time, but I will explain some of the other aspects before we get into the meat of the video, like object classes. Safe class SCPs are anomalies that are easily and safely contained. This usually means that the Foundation was able to do extensive research on the anomaly and didn't end up needing a lot of resources to contain it, and it didn't require any extraneous or special treatment specific to it. Euclid is the next tier, and it means that containment requires more resources than the safe class SCPs, or that the containment isn't always reliable. Euclid class SCPs are usually insufficiently understood or are unpredictable. Euclid is the most common class. Most SCPs will fall under this class. Keter class are SCPs that are very difficult to contain, consistently or reliably, that is. Along with difficult to contain these anomalies, they almost always come with extensive containment and breach containment procedures. This can often mean that the Foundation doesn't have the capability or technology to properly keep it in check, whether that be imprisoning it or countering it. And finally, what might be the most interesting class, Thaumiel. Now, we're not covering a Thaumiel class SCP today, but I wanted to include it out of continuity for the primary classes. Thaumiel class anomalies are anomalies that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other SCPs. I do want to clarify that just because an SCP is a safe class SCP doesn't mean it isn't dangerous, and vice versa. In fact, you could have a safe class SCP that is more dangerous than a Euclid or Keter class SCP, but it doesn't matter because the classes simply refer to the safety and ease of which you can secure, contain, and protect these anomalies. Pretty smart. Now, with that, we can get right into the fascinating lore and stories surrounding these anomalies that I have chosen for us today. The first SCP I want to cover holds a very special place in my heart since it was probably my favorite growing up. Like I said, this anomaly isn't super niche or anything, but out of principle I feel like I have to include it as underrated since it was one of my favorites after all. This anomaly being SCP-450, aka Abandoned Federal Penitentiary. Item number SCP-450, Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-450 is to be kept locked and secured at all times, except for monthly maintenance and cleaning as detailed below. Any civilians or personnel who enter SCP-450 at any other time are to be considered lost, and no rescue attempts are to be made. Description: SCP-450 is the death row block of the abandoned Redacted Federal Penitentiary in Redacted. Distance from entrance to the execution chamber is approximately 166.5 meters. A complex pattern, drawn in human blood, is located on the wall behind the electric chair. This pattern slowly degrades over time due to normal environmental decay and must be maintained regularly. The cell block is inhabited by what appears to be one or more hostile spectral entities. Attracting the attention of said entities is invariably fatal and may or may not occur due to one of the following criteria: entering the cell block by any means other than the main door, moving at a speed greater than 0.25 meters per second, staying in the cell block for more than 25 minutes at a time, entering the cell block more than once every 24 hours, operating any electronic device, any sound louder than CA 25 decibels. Personnel assigned to maintain the containment pattern are instructed to silently walk down the center of the main hallway at a slow but steady pace, as it takes approximately 11 minutes to walk the execution chamber at maximum safe rate of travel. Personnel will have only 3 minutes to work on the pattern and still have enough time to reasonably guarantee a safe exit from the facility. Auditory and visual hallucinations, including spectral voices, bleeding walls, and poltergeist activity, are considered normal. Lack of same is cause for concern. Personnel are encouraged not to investigate any dead bodies, supernatural activity, or rotting remains. Before we continue, in retrospect, I can see why young me liked this story so much. It's not the most complicated thing to understand in the world. A haunted prison that kills you if you don't give it human blood. I mean, just an overall hell yeah concept. If you've ever read any SCP Foundation, then you know that it isn't only known for its awesome horror concepts, but also the fusion of those concepts with comedy, weirdness, and just overall out there ideas. With that being said, this story doesn't have much of that. It's mostly just scary, but again, probably another reason why I liked it a lot as a kid. I didn't have time for all the funniness, I just wanted to be scared. This next part of the story is made by Sorts, and it is called All They Want Is the Blood. Wait, so are you actually Agent Xavier Garces asked with that same incredulous, gushy tone that the new staff always has when they saw the nameplate on the desk. Yes, I am Dr. Alto Clef. No, those stories were all greatly exaggerated. The man in the plain brown civilian security officer's uniform responded with a hint of resignation. Agent Garces, why are you still wearing that black suit? Didn't the requisitions department issue your cover uniform before you arrived on site? Sir, no sir, Agent Garces responded, tearing his eyes from the stylized nameplate bearing the musical inscription that was such a huge part of the Foundation's mythos. Snapping stiffly to attention in the manner of one who was addressing a drill sergeant, Garces continued, I was told that a uniform and cover identity would be provided on location. Jesus Christ. At ease, Garces. Clef stood up and paced across the grimy old security office and opened a rusted locker. You're way too big to wear one of my extras. I don't have your cover identity. So guess what? You're camping out here for the next few days. I'm not having you shuttle back and forth from this facility looking like one of the gosh dang men in black. I can't believe Requisition screwed this up again. Please tell me they at least sent you in with the necessary supplies. Yes sir, Dr. Clef. They're in the back of my truck. Let me guess, you drove in here with a big shiny black SUV with out-of-state plates and you parked it out in the old lot outside right next to my Toyota. Yes sir, Doc. Garces, this site is an abandoned federal penitentiary with a really gruesome past. To ghost hunters, this place is like a blonde holding up a sign that says free blowjobs. You are supposed to be part of the skeleton rent-a-cop staff that keeps horny teenagers and thrill seekers from trying to sneak into this building. Do you know what happens to people who sneak into this building? Entering the restricted rooms in this building is invariably fatal. Regulations state that any persons who enter SCP-450 are to be considered lost. Garces recited from memory, still standing at attention with his square jaw thrust up into the air. Do you look like a rent-a-cop? Are you driving the crappy kind of car that a rent-a-cop would drive? Clef limped up towards the younger, taller man, narrowing steely eyes that had already witnessed more than a lifetime's worth of horror. No. I'll tell you what you look like. You look like the new guy who doesn't quite understand what he is dealing with yet. You're here to learn that really fast, or else you are going to die in here like 1 out of 4 new guys that come in here to learn the ropes. You cut any more corners and you will wish that I was the devil that 732 made me out to be, because that guy would just put a bullet in your worthless ass and bury you in the parking lot. But I am not that man. So if you mess up in the slightest bit from here on out, you are not only going to die inside of 450, but the gates of hell are going to open up so wide that the cleanup crew that comes in here to pick up the pieces is going to have to fake a natural disaster big enough to wipe the neighboring 3 towns off the map. Am I clear? Sir, yes sir, Garces said, eyes staring off blankly over the top of Dr. Clef's receding hairline. This isn't the army, Agent. Clef sighed wearily and returned to his desk to send an equally nasty letter to the requisitions officer, who had sent him in a new agent without the proper gear. Sorry, Doctor, Garces replied, receiving no answer. He slumped his shoulders and sat down on the musty tweed sofa in the office. Finally, he spoke up again. So what are you doing here, Doctor? Clef looked up from his monitor and squinted. Retiring. Really love this start. We get the classic rugged veteran and mentor and young new guy dynamic here. Combined with this haunted prison backdrop, it's just perfect. I think the writing is incredibly strong early on. Trust me, I've read a number of these that were just not the best. And this is incredibly solid. Especially in that final paragraph where Clef tells off Garces, it absolutely sets the tone and the gravity of the situation at hand. I'm getting old, Garces, Clef explained. It was just over 30 years ago that we first secured this site. I was the first person to walk that mile, devise the containment procedures myself. Garces said nothing. He was dressed in the proper plain brown uniform now, his eyes locked straight ahead down the dilapidated hallway. His pace was measured and calm, his footsteps almost silent in comparison to the doctor's shuffling limp and the clack of Clef's cane. I based the containment pattern on the Seal of Solomon, Clef continued in a relaxed tone. I thought it would have some sort of arcane power over the entities trapped inside Death Row. Seems to have worked. They've only gotten loose once. That was 7 years ago, when some new guy didn't make it to the chair in time. Once I kicked Bright into the containment zone as a joke. You could smell nothing but burning chimp for the next 3 months, even in the safe zone. He said he'd kill me one day for that. Good times. Also, I had sex with your mother. Garces flinched and looked sideways. Clef smacked him in the shin with his steel-tipped cane. Don't react, Garces. Don't react to anything while you are taking this walk, the doctor hissed. You just keep on tuning me out and finish the practice run. We've got 3 more to do today. You need to execute this task perfectly or you will die. Do you understand me? Now come on, back to the starting line. Clef and Garces turned around and walked to the end of the empty cell block in silence. They were in a safe wing of the facility, one that was secure enough to have electric lights overhead. The air was thick with the smell of rot, strongest at the far wall where the practice symbol was painted in pig's blood over and over on a daily basis. Clef paused, holding up his hand before Garces started his walk again. His chest heaved and his hand clenched the handle of his cane so roughly that it shook. You all right, Doctor? Do you need a rest? Garces asked gently. Clef looked down at the grimy concrete floor. You know, I wonder if it even matters. Pattern. We've been tracing it in Death Row once a month for 30 years, but I don't think the entities care about the pattern. All they want is the blood. Doctor? It's the walk that's important, Agent. You have to walk calmly and at the perfect rate. Not too fast, not too slow. Don't look to the sides, just go in, smear blood on the walls, and get out. Do that and the entities will not see you, and you'll live to do this again next month. Maybe get assigned to contain something less crappy later. Yes, Doctor. Did you need to rest? No, I just needed to think of something new to torment you with while you practice. Something really good. Clef's face split in a wrinkled grin. Let's get going. For the next 4 hours, Clef yodeled nonstop. Garces managed to complete 1 practice walk successfully. On day 17, we get a bit more insight into the penitentiary. Here we see just how strict the rules are as to not alert the death row inmates, and I really like this change a lot. Previously, we knew about the restrictions, don't stay in the building longer than 25 minutes, don't enter the penitentiary more than once every 24 hours, but this dialogue reveals that the route must be perfect or face dire consequences. Like I said, I like the change a lot. The routine makes this anomaly feel so much more dangerous and scary. Before it's like, yeah, just do it once a day, be quiet, and you'll be fine, just get out of there. But all of this combined with the blood pattern and the Seal of Solomon, really unique, makes for a sick concept and awesome visuals. The doctor and the agent stood at the threshold of Death Row. A pair of brilliant floodlights shone behind them in the safe zone, casting their shadows starkly against the painted steel containment doors that blocked the path to the pitch-black execution chamber. Garces clutched a white plastic bucket containing a paintbrush and 3 blood packs generously donated by the people of the neighboring town in one of their blood drives. What if they attack me anyway? Garces finally asked, staring at the door blankly. They shouldn't, Xavier, but if they do, I promise I'll finish the job. I'll keep these things contained. Clef waved his keycard over the electronic lock and the steel doors swung towards the 2 men. A rush of gibbering voices seemed to pour out of the stark darkness of the death row cell block. 166 meters away, the door to the execution chamber stood open, barely illuminated by the powerful flood lamps behind the 2 men. Everything seems normal. Clef nodded as the doors of every cell on the left side began slamming open and shut in unison. Go get it done, kid. Remember, the pattern isn't important, but the walk is. Garces's breath was calm and measured. As he stepped into the darkness, Clef watched as his partner briskly strolled past the remains of an agent who had failed to execute his task perfectly 3 years ago. After passing 73 yards down the hallway, Garces spun his head sideways with a short exclamation. Mom? Abruptly, his body was yanked to the side, smashed against the rusted metal of a closed cell over and over until it was limply dragged between the bars in a smear of gore. Clef narrowed his eyes and grimaced. He had really thought Garces was going to work out. What an amazing turn of events. Firstly, it's very impressive how Sorts makes you care about these characters in just a few paragraphs' time. You want Garces to complete the routine. You want Clef to be proud of him. You want it all to work out. I also really love how he planted the seeds of Garces's weakness, being his mother earlier with Clef's comment. June 22nd, 20 redacted, 7:53 p.m. Clef walked with his cane tucked under one arm. His other swung the white plastic bucket in time with his measured steps. Exactly 11 minutes after entering SCP-450, he came to the old electric chair. Rattling and shaking in its fixtures with the exception of Garcez's screw-up, everything was going as expected. Clef knelt behind the shuddering electric chair and examined the bucket's contents. 2 of the blood packets had been torn when Garcez was taken. Looking back, the way he came for the first time, you could see the trail of bloody footprints he had left behind. Dr. Clef pursed his lips. The one remaining blood packet would not be enough to draw the containment pattern he had devised 30 years ago. Digging into his trouser pocket, he produced the old hunting knife Dimitri had given him as a present after their vacation in Tijuana. Clef rolled up his sleeve, laid the blade against his wrist, and set about his task. He doubted he would have time to walk out safely after this. Day 1 of Containment Cycle 367. Dr. Yancey sat in the security office, feeling very small in front of Dr. Clef's laptop. A progress bar slowly filled as a series of high-resolution photographs was attached to a report for the O5 Council. Agent Xavier Garcez confirmed to have perished while executing secure containment procedures at approximately 7:42 p.m. Attached image, Incident 450-34-A, was taken by researcher Darren from outside SCP-450 containment. It appears that Dr. Clef personally completed containment procedures with his own blood. Of note is the phrase that Dr. Clef painted upon the rear wall of the execution chamber in place of the decayed containment pattern. Come and get it. The entities within SCP-450 are confirmed to be contained. This appears to verify Dr. Clef's recent hypothesis that the specific pattern is not relevant to containment. The entities will be contained as long as human blood is applied to the walls of the execution chamber. Attached image, Incident 45034-B, is of the floor before the electric chair. From this angle it is hard to determine the nature of the markings, but we believe they are multiple handprints in a large blank area in the shape of a human body. Dr. Clef's whereabouts are unknown. He is presumed dead. Short and sweet, a common theme among a lot of these Foundation stories. The thing that really jumps out to me here is a description of where Clef disappeared. To me, it reads as one of two things. Either the inmates had a sort of respect for Clef, given he pioneered the entire protocol surrounding 450, but also since he said he had done the pattern for years and years. Or, on the other side of the spectrum, which is probably more likely, the death row inmates hated him. This is the guy who had done the route for years. He's the man who has kept them locked away for all of these years. This would explain why they murder everyone else who messes up. Gruesome, albeit probably quick, but not Clef. No blood, no gore, just disappeared, as if they recruited him to the penitentiary to suffer for eternity with the rest of them. Now, the story's not quite over here. This next part is what makes me lean to the latter theory rather than the former, since it is written from the perspective of the inmates themselves. I'm sorry, but look at us. We're still in here after all this time. We've served our sentence and then some, and we're still in this prison. It's not the time to be angry with each other. We've done enough of that over the years. We don't work together, so we don't get anything done, and they know it. Our fighting, our little spats, they're what's keeping us locked up and controlled. Oh sure, you can kill who you'd like when they go wandering through and have a jolly time with getting your stab quota filled, but that doesn't give us freedom. It doesn't get us out beyond these walls. I know me, and a lot of you feel the same way about it, about being stuck in this hellhole. Now I know most of us wouldn't have trusted each other with our lives, but now we have one goal. That's getting out of this jam. It's not just a spur of the moment type thing. You guys know what happened to Harold? I saw some of you stop by every once in a while, checking up on the poor guy. He never did get better. Over the years he just grew more pale, skinnier, his hair fell out and vanished. I was with him until the end. He just sort of faded away, without saying a word. Now it's happening to Mike, and I'm afraid he's going to just fade away too. What happens when it starts happening to James, or you, or me? What do we do then? Do we keep fighting amongst ourselves until we're all gone? It's not just our time. It's the blood, see? The janitors come around every long while. We've thought that they just touch it up, make sure it's fixed up and nice, but we're wrong. They're adding imperfections and starting to do a bit of a worse job keeping us grounded. Don't you notice you're getting weaker lately? Hauling those chains and slitting those throats, it's getting a little harder, isn't it? Affecting some of us more than others, but it is getting to us all. That's why we need to fight back against them. They're not just keeping us here, making sure that we don't escape. They're killing us ever so slowly. I don't know how we can die a second death, but apparently we can. And I don't want to let that happen to any more of us. Can't believe you'd say that it might be a good thing. You think just fading away into nothing is a good thing? No, there ain't heaven for us. Don't you remember what you did to land you here? You think that big man would give you a break and let you pass the pearly gates just because some asshole decided to keep you locked up longer than you were supposed to? At least if we put up a fight, we get a chance, a hope for freedom. Even this place is better than eternal hellfire and brimstone. I want to see the sun again someday. Harold did too, but now he's never going to see it, and it's all because of them. Don't you want to see the face of your family? Feel a cold breeze? Well, too bad. Pack up your bags because we are going to hell. That's how it's going to be if we don't find a way to get some changes around here. Look, I don't expect us to somehow magically obtain livelihoods away from that electric chair, but at least we can stop ourselves from fading into nothing. They have numbers, and they're big, and they're strong, but we've got nothing to lose. Even if we don't succeed in getting away from this place, maybe they'll feel one giant punch instead of all these small ones. Maybe we can force them to change. Maybe one day I'll finally see the sun again. Maybe one day you will too. That's only if we bring the fight to them. What I'm proposing? Well, I'm proposing we have ourselves a prison riot. SCP involved. SCP-450. Personnel involved. Site 18 security. Date 8/26/2007. Location redacted. On 8/26/2007 at approximately 15:26 during the routine cleaning and maintenance of SCP-450, all staff performing janitorial duties were simultaneously targeted by SCP-450's anomalous effects. All personnel suffered wounds consistent with repeated stabbing by makeshift weapons and perished shortly thereafter. For the first time since its containment, SCP-450's activity spread beyond its containment area. Several fires were started in the prison's courtyard. Spectre activity began affecting those not present in the death row section of the prison. Among the on-site staff, there were 12 casualties, 14 fatalities, and 4 unharmed personnel. SCP-450 activity came under control following the arrival of the redacted SWAT team. Foundation casualties claim that redacted SWAT team intervention allowed their survival. Security camera footage corroborates these claims. Mobile Task Force Pi-2 arrived at 22:33 and extracted casualties, successfully recontaining SCP-450 at 1:22 of the following morning. Debriefing of MTF Pi-2 agents indicates that during its arrival they observed a number of officers surrounding the facility, but were unable to apprehend any due to evacuation concerns. It should be noted that the redacted SWAT team has been disbanded since 1973, and of its original redacted members, only redacted are still living. SCP-450 activity is in decline following Incident 450-2242-12. This bit, written by Grand Ender, also introduces a lot of interesting things to the story of SCP-450. The biggest addition in this part for me is the idea that it is a full-fledged penitentiary. Now, maybe I'm just dumb, but before I had read this for the first time, even though it's called a federal penitentiary in the name of the thing, I always just pictured it as the death row area with the electric chair and everything. But this confirms that it is a full penitentiary with a regular, architecture, yet the only activity is in the death row area usually, other than this incident. And now you guys see why I lean towards the theory that the inmates hated Clef, because obviously they hate that they're stuck in this realm. We could have assumed that safely before, which leads me to believe that it's more likely that they had a personal thing against Clef, seeing him all this time, rather than some kind of respect, since, again, they spoke about stabbing and killing people in that monologue, but never about a guy just straight up evaporating, disappearing. Now, the last thing I want to mention is the SWAT team. At face value, it seems like a subsect of the Foundation was sent, a special team to clean all this up, but Grand Ender mentions that this redacted SWAT team has been disbanded since 1973, 30 years, and the members have dipped under the double digits over these 30 years. If I'm being honest, I have no clue if this is referring to some pre-existing creation in the SCP Foundation lore, but I'm going to assume it's not, because the idea that this anomaly has a companion anomaly poltergeist SWAT team that always ensures that they don't escape, even when the Foundation fails, is awesome, so I'm going to choose to believe that. The next SCP we're talking about is one of my favorite displays of the comedic elements I mentioned beforehand in an SCP story. To this day, I find this anomaly's function and the story surrounding it absolutely hilarious, but the reason the story works so well is its seamless combination of these comedic elements with the grim nature of the Foundation that we see through the story. This anomaly being SCP-3108, or the Nerfing Gun. Item number SCP-3108, Object Class Safe, Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3108 is to be contained in a standard anomalous object containment vault in Site-64, and is not to be removed except for testing purposes. Proposed tests must be approved in advance by both Dr. Johnson and Dr. Dietz. SCP-3108-1 is not to be loaded into SCP-3108 except during testing and is to be stored in a separate containment unit. When conducting tests, SCP-3108 is to be handled by Site-64 security staff only. One officer is to hold and fire the object, while a second is to observe the proceedings to minimize risk of accident or foul play. Researchers and D-Class are forbidden from firing the object due to safety and security concerns respectively. Due to the accuracy of SCP-3108 being in line with similar products, a maximum 1 meter distance is to be maintained from the intended target to prevent accidents. Under no circumstances is SCP-3108 to be used in cross-testing with other SCP objects, following Ethics Committee ruling on 0405-2000 redacted. Testing on humanoids has been forbidden. Description: SCP-3108 is a heavily modified Nerf brand dart gun which demonstrates anomalous transformative properties when paired with SCP-3108-1, a foam dart discovered loaded within SCP-3108 at the time of recovery. SCP-3108 does not demonstrate these properties when firing Nerf darts other than SCP-318-1, nor does SCP-318-1 demonstrate these properties when fired from a different Nerf dart gun. The phrase, "OP, please Nerf," is inscribed on the exterior of SCP-3108-1 in Reading. When SCP-3108 fires SCP-318-1 into a target, said target will instantaneously be altered in such a way that the result is perceived as worse or inferior by the individual wielding the object. This transformation can range from minor alterations to complete molecular reconstruction. The law of conservation of mass does not affect transformations caused by SCP-3108, and noticeable increases or decreases in mass have occurred often in testing. The resulting objects or organisms do not show any evidence of anomalous traits. Transformations do not represent any objective value scale, but rather stem solely from the opinions of the current holder. The outer shell of SCP-3108 is composed of steel, with bronze inlays used as decoration. While not impervious to physical damage, disassembly of SCP-3108 has proven impossible due to its anomalous nature. All tools attempting to deconstruct the object will be transformed into a broken or fake equivalents, precluding the examination of the object's interior. This seeming behavior of self-preservation is the only time SCP-3108 has altered objects beyond those hit by SCP-3108-1. Right off the bat, I want to clear up and talk about a few things. The first being Site-64. Now, Site-64 is a research and containment site located in Portland, Oregon, that is home to numerous anomalies, ranging from safe to thaumiel. Site-64 was actually originally the home to many anomalous communities, but in the 70s the Foundation discovered it, seized it, and over the years reined the anomalies in to the present day, where Site-64 isn't much more than a storage facility, but it has a pretty cool story in and of its own. Now let's talk about SCP-3108 itself for a second. A modified Nerf gun that regresses anything that is shot by it, as long as you use the specific dart. I think any of us who have been online in any multiplayer video game spaces of the last 10 to 15 years can see where the inspiration for this anomaly came from. The wordplay between the Nerf brand and the term. Nevertheless, I find this concept extremely cool, even if it was without the wordplay, especially combined with the fact that it needs a specific dart to function, and the coolest part being that it does regress things when shot by it, but only from the point of view of the shooter. Now, the reason why this is the best part is for the comedic potential, which you'll see very shortly. Recovery. SCP-3108's anomalous properties were discovered during a birthday party for 10-year-old Jacob Pierce in Redacted, Oregon. It is presumed SCP-318 was fired at a concrete wall, resulting in the concrete being replaced by loosely stacked stones. The wall promptly collapsed, causing minor injuries to 3 civilians. Foundation involvement came after the family sued the contractor of their home for the incident. The anomalous effect that caused the transformation was eventually traced to the gun following examination of the incident's location. During post-incident investigation, Jacob's brother, 19-year-old Nathan Pierce, was identified as a member of the GOI, Gamers Against Weed. Pierce had previously been known to the Foundation under his online alias Kektagon and had been designated POI-6897 due to his creation of SCP Redacted and SCP Redacted. A subsequent attempt to detain the target failed, as POI-6897 had fled the area 2 days prior to identification as Nathan Pierce. Really quickly, before going over what we just read, I want to bring something up from the previous paragraph. Around the segment talking about the attempts at disassembling the gun resulting in regression, there's a footnote that states, An attempt to disassemble SCP-3108 using only bare hands resulted in the replacement of Security Officer Silva's hands with a pair of empty rubber gloves. Sucks to suck, Security Officer Silva. Now let's talk about Nathan Pierce and the Gamers Against Weed. The Gamers Against Weed is a network of anomalous individuals that create anomalies for their own amusement or satirical purposes. The group congregates exclusively over the internet, consists of around 40 members. Generally, this group isn't a danger to society. As mentioned before, whatever anomalies they create are almost always for comedic or satirical purposes, but they do pose a threat to the secrecy of the Foundation themselves. Gamers Against Weed is composed of primarily dispossessed or marginalized individuals ranging from 15 to 30 years old. I'm sure you've all deducted by now that the title of the group is in fact satirical, just like their creations. To drive this point home, I'm now going to list off a few of my favorite online aliases from the members, consisting of lesbian_Gengar, gay cop MP4, communism, anarchism, nihilism, yes, that's all one singular name, blue-footed boobies, and Peppa Pig Strongest Soldier 1337. Now really quickly, let's see what the GOW describes themselves as. One member simply puts gay. Another so eloquently puts it as, formed in 1969, Gamers Against Weed is on the front lines of the eternal war between the gamers and the stoners. With over 9,000 troops, we have participated in numerous raids on Alganja and graduated top of our class in the Nintendo Seals of Quality. And another says, a bunch of trolls, basically, except with superpowers. The idea of a Redditor community with the ability to defy the laws of physics with anomalous creations, yet they use their powers for wordplay and weed jokes is just gold to me. As for Pierce, the Foundation describes him as a 19-year-old low-level reality bender known for creating anomalies affected by the cognition of their users or viewers. So he's known for creating these anomalies that depend on the agency of the user. He shares the pacifist views of the group, but lack of forethought surrounding his creations has resulted in some of his creations possessing dangerous applications, which we will dive into right now. This next bit is a partial test log from when the Foundation field tested 3108. Partial test log. Target: one dartboard made of sisal fibers. Result: dartboard composition was changed to cork. In addition, various small holes and what appears to be a beer stain appeared on the board. Target: an 8x11 sheet of printer paper. Result: paper changed composition to single-ply toilet paper. Target: one spare coffee mug from the Site-19 cafeteria. Result: coffee mug was replaced by a teacup composed of ceramic identical to the mugs. Target: one United States dollar. Result: one United States quarter. Notes: subsequent tests on dollar bills resulted in various outcomes, including dimes, nickels, pennies, foreign currencies, and fake bills from the board game Monopoly. There doesn't seem to be an exact formula for these changes. Dr. Dietz. Target: one can of Coca-Cola. Result: one can of Pepsi-Cola. Notes: Mike, the security officer observing the test, expressed dismay at seeing this result. He had him fire the dart, the Pepsi can, and it changed right back into Coke. Dr. Dietz. Target: one standard D-class uniform. Result: composition of uniform was changed entirely into cotton, and a tag reading "Made in China" was added at the neck. Notes: while that was hilarious, I think this test is onto something. Does the gun have a sense of humor? Dr. Johnson. Target: one VHS tape containing the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Result: one DVD of the film's 2005 remake Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Target: one male Rattus norvegicus specimen. It's a rat. Result: one male specimen of Iridomyrmex purpureus, lesser rat, I guess. Or notes: interesting logic on this one. What is the causal link between rats and ants? Never mind, it's an ant. Dr. Dietz. Target: one female golden retriever. Result: one female American shorthair with yellow hair. Specimen was unusually large, 15.5 kilograms. Continued to display behavior consistent with a golden retriever rather than a feline. Target: D-4281, 28-year-old Caucasian male. Result: 4281 transformed into a living specimen of Homo neanderthalensis. Preface: to test the limits of the danger SCP-3108 could pose to a human being, Security Officer Gardner was instructed to reload and fire the gun repeatedly until ordered to cease. Target: D-3578, 24-year-old Hispanic male. Result: initially displaying similar results to 4281, 3578 proceeded to transform into a variety of different species, including what appeared to be an Australopithecus, an unidentified member of the gibbon family, and a specimen of Bradypus pygmaeus. On 9 occasions, the transformation did not result in a change of species, but instead resulted in visible evidence of maiming, disease, or disability. Following 46 successive uses, testing was ceased as 3578 had been reduced to a specimen of Lumbricus terrestris, too small to be accurately hit by 3108-1. Notes: due to concerns from the Ethics Committee as well as the possibility of accidental creation of a Homo ignotus specimen, testing of SCP-3108 on humanoids is suspended effective immediately, pending a hearing. Dr. Dietz. Addendum. On 7/19/2000 redacted, Foundation personnel apprehended Nathan Pierce at an internet cafe in Los Angeles, California. Pierce was then escorted to Site 64 for interrogation regarding his creations. Interrogation regarding SCP-3108 can be found below. If you guys had any doubts that the Foundation was at least a little malevolent, then I think they're probably cleared up by now. This bit starts off very lighthearted. We see the Foundation and the head doctors testing 3108 on things like dartboards, paper, mugs, money, which is completely understandable. It's all fun and games. We see the personal bias and comedy peek through with things like Coke regressing to Pepsi, a well-made shirt regressing to a Temu shirt, and Gene Wilder Willy Wonka turning into Johnny Depp Willy Wonka. And they push the boundaries a bit, using it on things like rats, dogs, and other living organisms. This is until eventually we get to the unthinkable. Humans. As expected, using it on someone once regresses them to an early human, a Neanderthal. This bit of morbid curiosity is a reoccurring theme with the Foundation through lots of its stories, but it gets worse. Not only did they shoot someone once, but they straight up mag dump a dude until he turns into an earthworm. This is where the bias of the user becomes most interesting in my opinion. Most of the other regressions make sense. Then you get to subject 3578, and at first it's relatively normal, a monkey of some sort. Then he turns into a Bradypus pygmaeus, which is a 3-toed sloth. A little weird. I've never met somebody who just, really disliked sloths. We also read in the addendum that Pierce was apprehended and interrogated, where in this interrogation, he learns of what the Foundation has been using his creations for. Interviewed, POI 6897, Nathan Pierce. Subject displays low-level reality-altering capabilities common among anarchists and GAW members. Interviewer, Dr. Leo Dietz. Begin log. Dr. Dietz. Mr. Pierce, today I am going to be asking you some questions about another of your creations, specifically the gun. 6897. Get flipped. Dr. Dietz. Now, that isn't very helpful. Perhaps I should have Agent Green talk to you again instead. 6897. That isn't necessary. I'm sure he's a busy guy. We won't want to bother him. Lol. Dr. Dietz. Pierce, did you really just say the letters lol out loud? 6897. I'm used to talking on the internet. Sue me. And it's Kektagon to you. So what do you fascist cucks want to know? Dietz. I am not going to call you by your juvenile screen name. More importantly, why did you create the gun? 6897. Oh, the nerfing gun? Classic. Yeah, I thought it would be funny. Dietz. That's all? 6897. Look, what do you want me to say? That it's a symbol of guns making the world worse or something? Not everything has some grand purpose, man. It's just something I thought of while smoking. I mean, come on, a Nerf gun that makes things crappy? It's hilarious. I didn't even think of the obvious pun until later. Eventually I got bored of it and gave it to my bro as a birthday gift. Probably should have warned him to be more careful, but live and learn, am I right? Dietz. You honestly expect me to believe that? Despite your group's supposed pacifism, the anomalies you all have produced can be lethal. This little joke of yours has changed steel into balsa wood and people into invertebrates. You clearly intended this as a weapon. 6897. You used it on people? Dietz. Our testing history is not relevant to 6897. It was supposed to be a joke. It was funny. I changed Mass Effect 2 into Mass Effect 3, my neighbor's SUV into a smart car. I didn't use it on people. You bastards, why the hell would you do that? I'm not a murderer, damn it. Why would you turn a joke into a torture device? Just get out of my cell. I'm done talking. End log. I love how the author of this bit, Leonarius, sets up the reveal. Pierce's reaction is so genuine. He really only made it because he thought it would be funny. Now, like his file said, even though he clearly didn't mean for this to be used on people, he absolutely should have known that in the wrong hands, it could be lethal, and I 1000% guarantee you he knows that the Foundation is the wrong hands. And this is why this anomaly and story is so good. You get a bit of everything in it. You get a few scary / shocking moments, obviously with the gun and them using it on people. You get plenty of comedy. The concept in and of itself supplies the weirdness, and you get some great character work. I'm sure most of the audience would come to like Pierce. He's funny and he means well, but he's not without his flaws. Hell, he's the crux of the whole story, and we get a deeper look into the Foundation. I'm sure most of you could have inferred that the Foundation isn't all sunshine and rainbows, solely existing to protect humanity from these evils, but would they really go as far as to use a de-evolution gun on a human, let alone multiple? Yes, they would. Our next anomaly is one of my favorite displays of weirdness and horror combined in really anything. Firstly, on the wiki, there's a big header at the top of the story that reads, "No information regarding any specific location on Earth is to exist on SCP-4885's file unless given direct permission by the O5 Council." So what kind of anomaly is so dangerous that most members of the Foundation can't know its location? SCP-4885, or find him. Item number, SCP-4885. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. Currently it is only theorized that SCP-4885 is contained. To further elaborate, SCP-4885 is contained within an unknown Class 17 containment chamber in an unknown site. In the event that SCP-4885 breaches containment, procedure Invenient Eum is to be enacted, which consists of the following procedures. 36 Class 17 containment chambers are to be connected to an independent self-driving vehicle. At all times, 216 inactive containment chambers are to be readily available in case of sudden and unforeseen breach of SCP-4885's containment. One D-Class subject of stable mental health is to be submitted into the vehicle and driven into the system. A cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generator is to choose a random number between 1 and 36, and the vehicle is to be transported to a containment chamber based on the number chosen. Each containment chamber has a single-digit monitor that is capable of outputting a video at 720p resolution. Once a D-Class subject is transported to a random chamber, a message is to be sent to every monitor simultaneously. This message consists of the current location of SCP-4885 delivered via an implanted tracking device. The GPS is only accessible by Level 5 personnel or SCP-4885 containment staff on a need-to-know basis. After approximately 2 hours, each containment chamber is to be transported to a randomly designated Foundation site via self-driving trucks. The trucks are to be disguised as a packaging service in order to prevent suspicion. In the event an accident occurs during this stage, procedure Invenient Eum is to be enacted again. Whoa, I know, a lot to digest. Already we can deduce just how malevolent this anomaly is. It's so dangerous that 99.9% of the world cannot know where it's at any given time. Not only that, but this is the most extensive containment procedure we've seen yet pretty easily, and we've covered a prison that murders you if you don't walk fast enough. I find this opening so good. A being where even just knowing where it's at is so dangerous that they have to go to the lengths of having over 250 empty Class 17 containment chambers just on layaway, a random number generator that determines which chamber it gets put into, and a self-driving truck to transport it because it's too dangerous for even the most seasoned Foundation veterans to ferry it. No personnel who are aware of SCP-4885's existence are to go within 100 meters of any Class 17 containment chamber. Several signs and warnings have been placed around each chamber, labeling it as a water treatment room, and that attempted access is punishable by immediate amnesticization and loss of employment as decided by the Ethics Committee. These warnings tell personnel to report to a nearby automated site overseer of any leaks from the chamber, in which the person will be visually amnesticized by the overseer, and procedure Invenient Eum will be reenacted. For more information regarding the composition of Class 17 containment chambers, please consult document 7631.00. Currently, SCP-4885-1 instances that are located via FAR2.AIC are contained within Location I. The whereabouts of Location I are only known to FAR2.AIC. Currently, FAR2.AIC is connected to 80% of CCTV security cameras within the United States and 40% of total CCTV cameras on Earth. SCP-48851 instances discovered by FAR2.AIC will have specialized Foundation carrier drones be dispatched and attempt to grab the body and carry it to location I using routes that minimize the chance of unwanted civilian interference. In the event that a civilian notices a drone and SCP-4885 breaches containment, the drone will send an all-alert message to SCP-4885's containment team and procedure Inveniant will be enacted. In the event that Location I's whereabouts are discovered at large, the next personnel located within document Paint the Town Yellow will establish the next Location I, and their immediate family will be notified of their death. That's crazy. Description: SCP-4885 is an anomalous humanoid resembling the main character of the popular series of puzzle books, Where's Wally, known in the US as Where's Waldo. This entails that SCP-4885 wears a horizontal red and white striped shirt, a red and white bobble hat, and jeans. However, a noticeable difference in appearance from the character is the entity's paler skin and the lack of eyes. In the event that a subject knows of SCP-4885's current location at any given time, SCP-4885 will move to the nearest wall and begin to phase into it. SCP-4885 will appear inside of the subject and will reach up the esophagus and grab the subject's chin through their mouth. SCP-4885 will then proceed to pull themselves through the subject, destroying their internal organs and their spine. Once this has occurred, a yellow liquid will exit the corpse's mouth and will cover the subject entirely, which causes it to become an SCP-4885-1 instance. SCP-4885 will remain in its current location, occasionally patrolling the area until another person discovers its location once again. However, if SCP-4885 is close enough to the subject when they discover its location, they will instead approach the subject, attempt to climb into the subject's mouth, enter their abdomen, and exit their body through the subject's pelvis. During this time, SCP-4885 can easily dislocate/relocate any joint in its body, and its skin and muscles will gain the consistency of a malleable solid, allowing it to easily climb into and out of the subject. SCP-4885-1 instances are anomalous corpses that were created by SCP-4885. The entire body of an SCP-4885 instance is covered in illustrations similar to those found in Where's Wally books. With many different characters appearing on the instance's skin, these illustrations originate from the liquid that exits the corpse's mouth. Currently, no instances of the cartoon character Wally have been found on an SCP-4885-1 instance. These illustrations cannot be removed from the subject unless the skin it is placed on is removed. If a subject knows the location of any given SCP-4885-1 instance, SCP-4885 will teleport itself to the subject and kill them in the exact same manner as if they discovered SCP-4885 itself. This will also transform them into an SCP-4885 instance. SCP-4885 was discovered residing in, location redacted, within a small wooden house. Mobile Task Force Chi-19, Unrelenting Punishment, was sent to capture an entirely separate anomaly and did not know of SCP-4885's existence. Alright, the description clears up some confusion surrounding the previous few paragraphs, as well as introducing a lot of cool new stuff. Now you see what I mean by weird. This terrifyingly powerful being with a laundry list of a containment procedure is a real-life humanoid Where's Waldo? I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? He doesn't want his location to be known, so when you find out, he takes care of you. The description of how he kills someone who knows his location is brutal and amazing. I don't know what's worse, him teleporting into your body and climbing out of your mouth, or him climbing into your body then climbing out of your no-no square. Like I said, this also clears up a bit of confusion from the previous few paragraphs, as we now know that 48851 instances are the aftermath of knowing where this anomaly is. So the Foundation essentially keeps these instances locked up in a secure place that nobody knows about other than computers, like the CCTV cameras, and even it has its own containment procedure that's followed up by Inveniant for if the masses discover the whereabouts of this facility. This next bit is a transcript of Task Force Chi-19's interaction with 4885. Subjects: Amelia Merrick, M1, James Klein, M2, Kurt Stoll, M3. Begin log. M1, mic check. M2, yup. M3, all good. M1, equipment check. M2, everything's working as intended. M3, ditto. M1, transcript number 67. We are entering the house. M3, no one's talking to you, Melly. M2, oh, stop it. Now is not the time, Kurt. M3, right, sorry. The group enters the house. M1, Initial descriptions of the object were a pair of black spectacles capable of killing the user and covering their body in strange pictures from an unknown children's book. M3, it was obviously Where's What? M2, Kurt, stay professional. M3, I just want to bring some life into M1's robotic speech. M1, I'm trying to keep my job, Kurt. M2, M1, right. The group search the ground floor for the object and begin to go upstairs. Scraping noises are heard below them, but the group does not notice this. M3, there's a picture on the wall. M1, M3, yeah, looks weird. Looks like crayon. M2, take a picture. M3, already on it. M2, good. Think it has something to do with the anomaly? M3, of course, it looks like Waldo. M1, do any of you have any idea on where the object may be? M3, I think it's in here. M1, which room is this? M3, bathroom, there's a toilet and a shower, yeah. At least I think it's a shower. The room is circular with a normal porcelain toilet at the other side of the room. There's a small depression to the floor leading into a small drain. M2, strange. What kind of shower is this? M1, there is a modified sprinkler on the ceiling. There's a switch on one side of the room that I assume would activate the sprinkler. Seeing as this house has been abandoned for several years, I doubt it would work. M3 activates the switch and water begins to come out of the sprinkler. M1, I stand corrected. Who is paying the water bill for this to work? Is it still hot? M3 touches the water and it immediately recoils in pain. M3, it's scalding. M1, who is... M2, I have discovered the object. It was resting on the toilet. M2 is seen holding a pair of black circular glasses. The lenses appear to be missing. M1, good, you know the drill. M2 carefully examines the object, checking for fingerprints or any other traces of evidence. A small set of fingerprints are discovered on the temples of the glasses, which are revealed to be his own. M2, yep, these are the ones. Put these in a baggie real quick. M2 produces a plastic bag from a small container around their waist and places the glasses inside. M3, there's an inscription here. It's in redacted. M1, where? M3, over here on the wall. The phrase redacted is seen on the wall in redacted. M3, this was definitely not here when we first got here. Should we just leave it be and tell command about this, or? M2, it's most likely mimetic. Here, let me translate it. I have training. M2 takes out a small foundation-made translator and inputs the phrase. M2, well, never mind, doesn't appear to be mimetic. It says, the basement. The corpses from a child's book are in the basement. He is there too, and then it cuts off. M3, take a picture and we'll send it back. M2 begins to groan and hold their stomach. M3, are you okay? What happened? A set of fingers exit M2's mouth and grab their jaw. The hands push down, launching the jaw across the room. SCP-4885 exits M2's body. M1, what the f... Both M1 and M3 begin shooting at SCP-4885. The entity charged towards M1 shoves its fingers down their throat and begins clawing into their mouth by unhinging their jaw. M3, please, oh god, please, command, we're at location redacted. I repeat, location redacted. We need assistance ASAP. Help! The audio is abruptly severed. End log. When the transcript was received by a nearby site, the site almost immediately went into lockdown as SCP-4885 killed most of its personnel. The O5 Council enacted an emergency meeting, and Procedure Inveniant Eum was created. Shortly after this, the procedure was enacted, and SCP-4885 was theorized to be contained. All information regarding SCP-4885's location of discovery was removed via an automatic algorithm. SCP-4885's file was created. I don't even think I need to tell you how cool this is. It seems that 4885's glasses were discovered before it, so Task Force G19 thought they were picking up a simple, harmless pair of glasses that, as long as they don't put them on, will be completely safe. Safe to say that wasn't the case. It also seems like the glasses have the same effect on the wearer that the yellow liquid does on the corpses. Now the story isn't quite finished. There's one last log that explains the conception of Location I, and I think it is the perfect conclusion to 4885's mysterious story. Addendum. Note from lead researcher Andrew Pent. Recently, I was alerted to the apparent danger of SCP-4885 and the corpses that it creates. Sure, we have procedure inveniant eum, but there are presumably hundreds of SCP-48851 instances out there that we cannot contain at all, as even the O5 Council has stated that they do not know how to contain the corpses. Here's my proposal. I will require no D-Class nor any help from anyone. I will create an algorithm for drones and other machines to detect SCP-48851 instances, grab them, and deliver them to a specific location, which I will refer to as Location I. Location I, as far as any of you are concerned, will not exist. This Location I will be known to no one except for me and me alone. I will establish Location I in the algorithm that I have created, and I will allow SCP-48851 instances to be dropped off at Location I. Any of you that know SCP-4885's effect know where this is going. Once Location I has been established and the algorithm is up and running, I will exile myself to a location that, as far as any of you are concerned, will not exist. I will cast myself to the forest and I will wait for SCP-4885 to take me. Roughly 3 days after I exile myself, activate procedure inveniant eum and do not go looking for Location I. If you're reading this and you're not in O5, everything that I just said has already happened, and this proposal is a success. No need to pray for me. Instead, pray that you never find Waldo. I'm sure many of you were asking yourselves how 4885 hadn't already killed the entirety of Earth. Well, now we know. A valiant sacrifice from Andrew Pent and some 48851 instance delivery drones. I guess I'll just leave you with a little advice. Don't go looking for Waldo. Well, there you have it. 3 of some of the most underrated and really best SCPs that I could think of. Murderous, godlike Where's Waldo, a haunted prison that'll kill you if you cough in it, and a literal nerfing gun. Please let me know in the comment section if you want to see more SCP videos, or tell me what you want me to cover. I'll probably do it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching.